I I guess a more appropriate question, this sounds so cheesy, it's not that cheesy, is really what couldn't they learn?
I don't want to be too alarmist here, in as much as there are thousands of theater programs across the country on both the high school and the middle school level that are going strong. But there are also a lot of areas that, as soon as there needs to be a cutback, there's something that's, they don't have as much funding as they used to have. Maybe property taxes have been frozen, whatever. People start to look for those areas that they consider to be the least important areas, thinking that everything's important, but what are the least important areas for our students? And sometimes some of the arts, including theater, end up on the chopping block.
Theater has impacted my life by giving me a purpose. Before I found theater, I didn't really have a place in my own life that I felt like I could be myself and that I could express myself in a way that made sense to me. And so theater was the platform for me to really find like who I am as a person.
I didn't really have a lot of direction in high school, either through what career I wanted to do or really just how I wanted my life to look down the road. And I auditioned for a production of Harvey, and I was Myrtle May, and I'd never felt like what I could contribute was important because I could never see the end result of it. When you're in school, it's kind of like a microcosm of how things are supposed to be, and so if you're not good at it, you feel like you're doing something wrong, but this was something that I knew I was good at, I could contribute to, and I could see the end result, and I think that kind of project-oriented gratification is very helpful, especially for kids that don't really get that in different settings.
Theater is the only subject that actually combines the information from all of the other subject areas in a synthesis sort of way. And when we're in real life, I don't go, oh, I'm having a math moment now. Oh, I'm having a history moment. Oh, I'm having an English moment. I mean, every moment is connected and organically connected in some way because that's what life is like. And the only subject in the high schools and the middle schools that actually does that is theater. You know, it takes a little bit of English, a little bit of music, a little bit of poetry, a little bit of industrial arts when you're building sets and things, or hanging lights, a little bit of physics in terms of understanding how the lights work, a little bit of foreign language every time that we do a play by Moliere or anything that's written by a Latino author, or, you know, any place around the world, so that when we're doing productions, and most theater programs in the high schools do several a year, they are borrowing from every single subject area and actually reinforcing what all the other classes are teaching, because we're taking it and we're connecting it to other aspects of knowledge just like you do in the real world. So not only are you studying, you know, this canon of literature that's existed from almost the dawn of time, because there's at least some people believe that the ancient prehistoric people actually told stories about the hunt or about gathering things for the rest of the tribe through theatrical sorts of show and tells of what they were doing as well. So from the very beginning of this process, some of the greatest literature in the world has been written in the form of plays. The information that you need to know in order to be in a play means that you have to completely and totally explore and study the world of that particular time.
Theater is how I express my ideas. It's where I feel most comfortable sharing my thoughts is through designs and through directing and acting, and improv exercises and all of that are all just ways to express ideas and thoughts without having to use words necessarily, which is fun.
Theater's impacted my life because it has brought me closer to who I am as a person through like playing different roles, and also being in a community of people who fully accept you and also encourage you to find different parts of who you are.
I was a piano player growing up, and I knew that I loved the arts, and I would see theater growing up with my family, but always knowing that I was gay and different than the majority of my classmates. I saw an audition posting at the school, and in hindsight, looking back, I probably wanted to just escape my own body, escape my feelings towards other men, and play a different character, kind of take on someone that was normal So I think I got into theater because I was different and wanted to feel as if I fit in. And I think a lot of us that are in this business, when we reflect on why we got into the theater, it's very similar. We kind of escape for 2.5 hours. We put on a show. We entertain. We are laughed at and cried at and clapped at and applauded for escaping our own bodies and being someone different. So, of course, I found a community within the theater, and I wasn't so different anymore.
Theater has impacted my life tremendously as I am studying it, actually. I'm an acting major here at Ball State University. It started in like high school. I found like a really tight-knit group in theater that helped me to become more of who I was meant to be. And so that has really led me to where I am today. So yeah.
Okay, I grew up in a not super great family situation where I just like didn't want to be home a lot, and so that's how I like first got into theater. It was kind of like, I'm gonna not go home, and then it kind of developed into everything. It is a really great like creative cleanse and kind of keeps me engaged and like creating and moving forward as an artist.
Theater really brought me out of a shell that I was kind of living in, where the only thing that really mattered was like education and stuff like that, and trying to be top of the class and all that stuff. Just found that I really loved the process of creating something, and it really kind of enriched my life, and I met so many more people than I would have other than that.
Theater gave me a place where I could be myself. I was not by any means the popular kid, so theater was sort of not an escape, but just a place where I felt comfortable to be.
Theater is a place to have fun. It's a place to talk about serious topics, and it's a way to make connections with people you would never connect with, and the kind of connections that you couldn't make in any other type of world.
Again, I jump back to the fact that there really isn't another subject area, maybe psychology a little bit, that deals with emotional intelligence. You know, how to read the cues that other people give off on a regular basis in a way that we understand what it is they're trying to communicate, what they want from us, what they're willing to offer. I mean, those are all some of the real crucial elements to whether or not somebody gets along in the workplace or doesn't get along in the workplace, and without a background in some sort of subject work where you get a chance to practice those things and you get a chance to interpret whether or not you're making the right observations or maybe inaccurate observations of what somebody else is sending off to you. I don't know how you master that by the time you get out into the world where the stakes are a lot higher.
I think the biggest thing for theater for me that is the opportunity to impact other people and to share that art form. Being able to see someone's mind when they are challenged by a show, or when they are confused, or even when it just makes them laugh, like being able to see what this art can do in other people's lives.
Theater teaches everything. I was speaking to a woman and she's like, well, how do you do that? How do you teach people how to like live? And I was like, well, what do you do? And she said, she leads a women's group and she teaches like women how to like love themselves and accept themselves. And she's like, it's all about confidence and empathy. And I was like, well, that's pretty much what I do. Theater teaches empathy. It says, walk in someone's shoes. Don't judge who that person is. There's nobody who is not like you. There's nobody who you don't have access to. Why do they think this way? What do they want? Why do they move through the world this way? And it encourages you to think like them and to move through the world like them and to empathize with them and to be on their side no matter what. There's a thing we say in theater, it's like, okay, but get on your partner's side, or get on your character's side, rather, whoever you're playing, and doing that over and over and over again with a lot of different characters, which are always just you, you can't help but not learn empathy, and you start to, like, I played a mother, and while I was playing a mother, I had all these dreams about my mom. I was like, this is a hard job, because pretty much every action, every way that my character moved through the world was just through loving her kids and raising in the son. And I was like, no matter what he does, I have to love him. And that's a hard thing to do. And, like, that's what moms do everywhere. So then when you learn that about moms, then you call your mom and you're like, oh, man, that's a hard job. I did a Shakespeare show where I played a guy named Montjoy, and he was a French herald, and he believed in his country. And we're like modern day Americans, so we don't get patriotism. And I was like, oh, I get it. This is what patriotism feels like. Like, my country's right all the time, and we're going to win because we are destined by God to win. And I was like, this is patriotism. And when you know that about a character, if you're playing that character, then you know something about yourself and you know something about the world. So that's invaluable. That's an invaluable skill. So I think that's why theater is important to study. And that's why I'm lucky that I get to do what I do.
It's made me more aware as a person, if that makes sense. Like we live in a bubble, and you don't really become aware of certain things until you see them. And in a sense, theater lets you see how other people like experience life or the like adversity they'd like face.
I would have to say that theater is one of those arts that really allows you to connect and empathize with other people. I think in a world where we are so disconnected all the time, that it really just allows you to open up, become more vulnerable in a positive sense, in a way that you just get to share and live and actually take in the world around you and love others more openly, which I think is really, really beautiful.
A theater class in high school, well, I'm a testament to the theater class in high school and getting into something that you kind of step outside of your comfort zone. I think that theater teaches fearlessness and empathy and apathy and emotions that maybe a business class or a biology class really can't teach. So I think theater in general opens us up to so many stories around the world and other people's truths. So I think that in high school, theater classes will expand your mind and expand your knowledge and have you step into somebody else's shoes, quite literally.
First of all, since most of these decisions are made on the local level, the local school board would be the first people to talk about. I mean, write a letter to your local newspaper and just talk about the great things that are happening in the arts in your city, or the great things that you know happen in the arts, so you want them to happen in your city. Contact the school board or some school board member and ask if you can sit down and talk a little bit about those things that are really important to you and that you know are really important to those kids who love the arts, or all kids who actually maybe haven't been exposed enough to the arts to realize how much they would gain and how much they would end up loving the arts. Because that is one of the cool things about our area. You learn a tremendous amount, but you actually are enjoying yourself while you're learning it most of. Then the other thing that I would suggest on a national level is that at this point right now, the No Child Left Behind law, the Elementary and Secondary Reauthorization Act, has been approved by both the House and the Senate, but there were some questions as to whether or not the arts were going to be taken out as a primary discipline. And even if it doesn't happen this time, it's a subject that seems to come up on a fairly regular basis. If you think that the arts are equally as important as the other classes that exist, and I certainly do, and hopefully you do as well, then the suggestion would be to contact your national representatives, your national senators, and let them know that you feel that all of the arts classes, particularly, in my case, the theater education, is absolutely crucial, and it needs to stay as a fully recognized discipline along with the maths and the sciences and the histories and whatever. The other thing that you can do is go to a play. I mean, the more people that are in the audience, the more that programs that do exist but maybe are hurting just a little bit, the more that they can try to do things that are even a little more ambitious than they're doing now, and the more general contentment there's going to be that their program is going to continue to survive if they realize that there's patrons like you who are excited about the work that they're doing and that you're actually going to support them with your pocketbook as much as you're going to support them just talking about, you know, what a great thing it is that there's all the art.
Can't do it. Impossible.
The one word I would use to describe theater would be fantastic, probably.
Would probably be collaborative.
Replenishing.
Necessary.
Passion.
Probably sympathy or generosity.
Probably important.
Community.
Escape.
Art.
Love.
Love.
Home.